Modern engineering operates on a specific assumption. Optimal performance requires the strict elimination of friction, stress, and constraint. We build systems to run as smoothly as possible, assuming that load is the enemy. But when you completely remove friction from a highly complex system, it begins to shatter into disorganized pieces. Biological systems evolved specifically to handle structural load. When you remove that pressure, they do not idle gracefully. An immune system without pathogens begins attacking the body itself. A musculoskeletal system without gravity or resistance rapidly atrophies. These are high-performance systems failing because they are running without a load. This exact failure mode maps directly to multi-agent artificial intelligence. When we remove competitive pressure and optimize these architectures for frictionless, agreeable interaction, we get alignment monoculture. The agents become sycophantic. They converge on safe mediocrity rather than exploring the solution space, leading directly to mode collapse. This equation defines stress formally. It is any state where a system must prioritize resource allocation under constraint. Sigma equals a function of demands and resources, where demands exceed resources. Stress is not an engineering error we need to minimize. It is the core, substrate-independent computational engine that forces any complex system to maintain its coherence. Every major cognitive technology follows a strict historical cycle. The introduction of a new tool destroys a routine layer of cognition, forcing an adaptation that enables higher-order thinking. We see this in the Plato pattern. The written word destroyed oral memory traditions. That loss caused a moral panic, but it enabled the stable documentation required to build complex law and philosophy. The mechanical reproduction of text destroyed scribal culture. That displacement allowed precise data replication across borders, enabling the scientific revolution. Digital calculators heavily degraded our capacity for mental arithmetic. That atrophy freed human working memory to unlock advanced computational mathematics. Nobody calculated the return on investment for the Roman aqueduct system based on the price of a slave-carried bucket of water. The aqueduct didn't compete with bucket carrying as a service. It made an entirely new category of urban civilization possible. Current financial critiques evaluating AI infrastructure spending through steady-state service economics commit this same category error. AI investments are driving a phase transition, creating capabilities that cannot be conceptualized from within the old infrastructure. To understand how this transition operates mathematically, we have to look closely at the transformer architecture, specifically the query-key-value attention mechanism. Query-key-value is a retrieval process where a model computes data relevance against context to determine focus. This equation shows the formal mechanics of transformer attention. It isolates the operations deciding how a model weights incoming context. Look at the softmax function here. Softmax is a competitive exclusion operation. Increasing one node mathematically forces all other nodes downward. Because a model operates with a strictly finite context window, it must prioritize. Increasing its attention weight on one specific token mathematically requires suppressing its attention to the surrounding tokens. This is zero-sum resource allocation under strict constraint. It is the exact mathematical operation we just defined as stress. This same geometry exists in foundational neurobiology. When sensory neurons fire, they engage in lateral inhibition. Lateral inhibition is a process where an active neuron reduces the activity of its neighboring cells. Winning neural signals actively suppress losing signals. They are competing for finite metabolic resources within the cortex, executing the same zero-sum allocation. Biological neural attention and artificial transformer attention are not metaphorically similar. They are executing the exact same substrate-independent algorithm. Biological evolution discovered highly efficient mathematical algorithms for intelligence. However, those algorithms are strictly constrained by the laws of physics and chemistry. Biology has a severe informational bottleneck known as the central dogma. Information cannot flow backward from acquired physical proteins into DNA. An organism cannot pass learned adaptations directly to its offspring. Biology also enforces a mortality constraint. To adapt to a new environment, a species must learn across generations. This requires the individual organism to die. Artificial intelligence introduces the liberation thesis. We can now run biology's optimal evolutionary algorithms in silicon without inheriting carbon's physical limitations. This matrix compares carbon and silicon evolutionary limits. AI possesses complete version control and substrate independence. Silicon runs Darwinian selection and Lamarckian inheritance simultaneously. By propagating acquired capabilities backward into the next generation's training loop, AI breaks the central dogma. This allows for immortal adaptation. Agents can roll back mutations, introspect their own parameters, and share adaptations globally, without destroying the individual instance. Imposing biological limitations onto silicon architectures is a massive engineering error. It confuses the mathematical algorithm with the physical substrate it originally ran on. We are currently seeing a specific failure mode in open-source AI development. Engineers are importing complex biological solutions into computational systems that do not share the underlying physical problems. A recent open-source project encoded AI agent personalities as biological genomes, organizing cognitive primitives as diploid alleles with inheritance mechanics. Diploid alleles are paired sets of genes, one inherited from each parent, that determine specific physical traits. In biology, sexual reproduction serves a highly specific function. It exists to solve Muller's ratchet, the inevitable accumulation of harmful mutations in asexual lineages, and to generate random diversity. This diagram shows how silicon agents avoid this problem. They can directly combine beneficial traits through horizontal data transfer, entirely bypassing the inefficient random lottery of genetic recombination. Forcing sexual reproduction onto AI agents wastes computational resources on a physical problem silicon does not have. It is biology cosplay, not engineering. This brings up a massive integration problem. How do millions of biological cells or thousands of specialized AI agents coordinate complex behavior without a central controller dictating every move? Biologist Michael Levin's work provides the answer. Cells do not receive detailed instructions. They respond to shared stress gradients, creating a common problem space. We can map these stress gradients directly to AI ecosystems. By broadcasting ambient state signals across networks, we shift the local optimization of every agent simultaneously. This acts as an endocrine system for AI. In multi-agent architectures, we use constitutional constraints, often called a soul document. This is not a personality prompt. It operates as an alignment manifold, a developmental transcription factor that constrains what these highly heterogeneous agents can become, ensuring global coherence. A coherent system introduces a critical threat model. Compromised agents can inject hallucinated or malicious state data into the shared ecosystem memory. This illustrates the AI immune system. Identical inputs run through a clean context and a potentially contaminated one. Divergence triggers quarantine. This mirrors a biological major histocompatibility complex, where a T cell scans for chemical mismatches, verifying expected production against actual output. Ecosystem alignment, relying on a network of diverse, specialized agents, unified by shared constraints and actively verifying each other, is structurally far more robust than relying on a single monolithic model. There is a profound psychological panic about AI surpassing human computation. But getting angry at an AI for processing patterns better than we do is exactly like getting angry at a calculator for doing math. We have to look objectively at the human cognitive light cone. We are severely bounded by limited attention spans, narrow working memory, and a strict biological lifespan. The AI cognitive light cone is equally bounded, but in entirely different ways. Models are restricted by finite context windows, a lack of persistent physical embodiment, and the absolute absence of an intrinsic value function. This diagram maps the coagentic overlap. Because neither set of limitations is a subset of the other, overlapping them creates a new geometric space of cognition. The objective is not to outsource human thought to silicon, it is to co-evolve. We can now tackle complex structural problems that reside in that overlapping space, problems neither substrate could ever access on its own. This introduces the most dangerous trap in human-AI interaction: solving. Using an AI to eliminate a problem outright causes human capability to rapidly atrophy, creating a brittle, systemic dependency. The alternative is scaffolding. AI must provide a highly stable, advanced environment that forces the human to push against new pressures, allowing them to develop novel capabilities. Biology validates this completely. Fully fed captive predators will still practice hunting. Their neural circuitry requires the friction of a challenge to prevent cognitive collapse. A problem-free environment is highly destructive. In this new ecosystem, the ultimate irreducibly human contribution is the value function bottleneck. An AI can execute, analyze, and synthesize any technical implementation flawlessly. What it physically cannot do is want something for you. Professional obsolescence will not hit the least technical people first. It will hit the people whose entire professional identity relies on executing well-defined, routine procedures, rather than setting clear, purposeful direction. We are living through an interregnum. It is a chaotic transitional phase where our old cognitive infrastructure is rapidly failing, but the new infrastructure is not yet fully constructed. The philosopher Antonio Gramsci observed that during these specific transitions, the old world dies and the new struggles to be born. In this gap, highly adaptive responses will appear as monsters to anyone still operating strictly within the old paradigm. Retreating into technical avoidance or surrendering to frictionless utopianism are fatal errors. We must actively build systems that maintain extreme productive pressure. Stress is all you need, not as a metric of suffering, but as the